I come back from vacation. The Portland Trail Blazers are going on vacation. And if you watched each and every one of these games, it seemed like Portland could be up with a 4-0 sweep or at least winning a few of these games. Get right to it. Steph Curry drops 37 points in the Game 4 win. Overtime is needed, but the Warriors will be rested and ready, Teddy, with their 5th straight finals appearance. Pretty impressive.
Sure. And from a point spread perspective, this one's going to get graded as a push because it closed Golden State -2. And of course, the Warriors ended up winning by 2 in the extra session. Nail biter, whichever side you had there. But most people, and I should say most, 90+% of tickets that were written on the underdog in that ballgame cashed. Because, literally the last 15 minutes before tip-off, there was a late surge of money coming in on Portland, all wise guy money. And that pushed the line down to 2. But most people who took the Blazers were able to catch +2.5, +3, even +3.5 if they bet earlier enough. So not a great result for the books with the game landing on 2 and all of that wise guy Blazers money that had come in beforehand. But a bizarre series in a sense. I mean, the Blazers led for more minutes in the series than the Warriors did. That's a 4-0 Golden State sweep. Portland, the only team over the last 2 decades to lose 3 games. They led by at least 15 points, including Game 4. Heck, they led all 3 of those games by 17 points or more. Blazers had legit chances to win Game 2. They had a legit chance to win Game 4. They just didn't hit shots when it mattered most. Damian Lillard's post-series quote, "It's the furthest that we played in the postseason. That's a little deeper water than what we've seen. It's a little bit more physically and mentally trying. The level of play is higher. There's a lot more on the line. Teams take their scouting reports and detail it to the next level. I think it was a great experience for us. I think we showed we're capable of being here and competing at this level, but it's definitely different." Well, that's a quote from a guy who just got swept out of a series as far as the Blazers have been in the postseason. But for what it's worth, Portland 2-2 ATS for most bettors in this series, not a disaster for Blazers backers.
Yeah, I mean, when you really watch the series, Teddy, especially in Games 4, I mean, you get Myers Leonard scores 25 points in the first half. You get 54 points combined from McCollum and Lillard in that game. And it almost seems like at the halftime, you expected the Blazers to be up more. But time and time again, Teddy, I mean, double-digit leads in the second half where you just have to ride it in. And Golden State just rode that wave all the way to finish. Says the sign of a championship team, but also looking forward, you're right with that quote that you just put on. Because, being swept in the first round. Now you're getting, advancing to the conference finals and getting swept. But it's kind of interesting all season for Portland, Teddy. Just take a minute to talk about, the mindset where you did get swept, yes, but you had a lead just about in every single game and a comfortable lead and let them slip away.
Well, I mean, that speaks something for the Warriors. The Warriors are a multi-3-time champion. This is now the 5th straight trip to the finals, obviously. Let's give Golden State credit as much as we're going to criticize Portland for falling apart with big leads in that game. And remember, the Blazers lost one of their big 3 late in the season with Nurkic, and Kanter came in and tried to fill his minutes, and Leonard obviously had a huge Game 3 and Game 4, but it wasn't enough for Portland. But there's hope for this roster in a lot of sense. Can the Blazers be back? Can they be contenders in the Western Conference again next year? With Nurkic back, Lillard and McCollum now having this experience, Rodney Hood certainly played well. There's hope for Portland. I don't know that the Western Conference Finals one trip is going to be as high as this version of the Blazers gets. They could do it again next year. They have that level of potential.
Yeah, it'll be interesting offseason there. Obviously, we know with all the big-name free agents. Let's talk a little bit of Major League Baseball here. Jake Arrieta returned to the friendly confines of Wrigley and ends up picking the win. I mean, obviously, Arrieta didn't get the win for himself, but the Phillies got the overall win. Standing ovation for Arrieta as he came up to the plate his first time around. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. The Phillies, Teddy, carried a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. Saw that disappear 4-3, but a fluke base hit by Gene Segura with 2 outs in the 9th inning pushes it to extra innings, and a 2-out home run by JT Realmuto into the left field seats was proving to be the difference. Nice win for the Philadelphia Phillies. Good teams win this way, Teddy, as we know.
Yeah, it was lucky. It was fluky. The single just over Rizzo's glove. Oh, and it ends up bringing the tying run in. And, of course, the total in this game got bet down from 8.5 to 8. You got a 3-1 game in the bottom of the 8th inning. Under's a lock. Oops. 3 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, 1 in the 10th. Over cashes the ticket. Extra innings is where unders go to die in MLB. That certainly happened last night with both bullpens showing vulnerability in the latter stages.
Yeah, some brutal beats there on the totals. We've seen it with the Dodgers and the Reds game as well. Moving on to a little bit of NFL action, 2019 NFL season preview. The 2019 New Orleans Saints stepping to the plate. A little bit painful there for the offseason for the Saints, but we'll go over and see what they have to offer. The Saints sit at 9-1 to win the 9-1 to win the 2019 NFL championship, 4-1 to win the NFC, and the Saints team total, Teddy, a hefty 10.5. Saints finished 2018, obviously 13-3, first place finish in the NFC South. Made it all the way, obviously beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. Then as we saw getting forward, oh boy, was that a tough loss there in the NFC title game where the Rams advanced onto the Super Bowl, only to lose to the New England Patriots. Pro Bowl center Max Unger does retire in the offseason, but they spend their first-round draft pick on picking up a center out of Texas A&M. Look, this is a good football team, obviously, as we know. Talented all the way around, great quarterback, great coach, great home field advantage. We'll see if it translates. But the one thing I do want to point out here, Teddy, the NFL doesn't really help you out if you're a really good football team the following season because it is a league of parity. First 4 games out of the gate, Teddy, Saints playing the Texans, Rams, Seahawks, and Cowboys, all playoff teams.
And it's it's a Saints team that has a history under Sean Payton of coming out of training camp not yet in midseason form. They've had more than their fair share of slow starts, which means that brutal opening slate could have some lasting implications as the season progresses. One thing that we like about New Orleans, man, there's continuity for the Saints. You know, the GM, Mickey Loomis, he's been there since 2002. The head coach, Sean Payton's been there since 2006. The offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael's been there since 2009. The defense coordinator, Dennis Allen's been there since 2015. The quarterback, Drew Brees, is his 19th NFL season. This team has the foundations in place for continued success. And of course, we look at what happened last year. From a talent perspective, New Orleans can compete with anybody in the NFL. I don't think there's any question about it. You look at their season stats, they're impressive across the board, offense and defense. You look at what they did in the offseason, well, a couple of big pickups, Ben Watson at tight end, Jared Cook at tight end, replacing Ben Watson. You bring in Malcolm Brown from New England, certainly a defensive tackle that has a whole lot of potential. Latavius Murray coming in at running back. And then, of course, Nick Easton, who missed last year with a neck injury. He's supposed to be their new starting center, although the rookie, Eric McCoy out of Texas A&M, may well take that spot. But one thing worth noting for New Orleans, last year their depth was not tested. They were one of the healthiest teams in the NFL. That was last year. When you're top 5 in fewest games lost due to injuries and you have a veteran roster, you don't know that carries over 2 years in a row. I do worry about the Saints having depth concerns. Their stars are making a lot of money. I'm not convinced the quality depth is there if New Orleans isn't quite as healthy this year as they were last year. I'm not all that bullish on the Saints, and I'm not going to bet them over their win total.